This man went from studying psychology and going to jail to becoming the strongest bench presser of his era, being the first man in history to ever bench more than 700 pounds completely raw. And he managed to win the World Bench Press Championships while still holding the heaviest ever drug-tested bench press to this day. This is the story of Big James Henderson. Big Hollywood, as he would often be called in the powerlifting scene, grew up in the center of Boston in a part of the city called Roxbury, during a time where the city was looking pretty rough. There was a lot of crime and not the safest place for a kid growing up, although his upbringing would shape him into the man he is today. However, despite growing up in poor conditions, Henderson was pretty strong-minded, and when he was 18 he moved away to Georgia to study psychology and played football at Albany State University for 2 years before sustaining a career-ending knee injury. However, during his time while training football, Henderson discovered one thing. He was incredibly strong, especially at the flat barbell bench press, which most offensive linemen train for a lot. So after sustaining his injury, Henderson would exclusively focus on his gym lifts, all of his training being centered around the bench press. Around this time, Henderson was benching around 500 pounds and weighing around 300 himself. But those numbers would soon be history. As of 1989, he was convicted of drug trafficking and police obstruction, landing him a tremendous jail sentence of 50 years. And his career as a powerlifter was put on hold. But before we go deeper into things, a quick installment from today's video sponsor at Fume, who helped me make videos like these available for you guys every week. Because the flavored air category has slowly been shifting from the domination of vaping, now there's a direction towards making healthier alternatives for those who actually want to improve their habits. And Fume is leading the way into this new trend by simply being flavored air, which you can taste in your mouth without pulling it into your lungs. Fume is not only award-winning in its own category, but also completely free from nicotine and vapor, making it safe to consume, and it also comes with a neat little fidget tool for those who struggle with anxiety. And it's great for taking with you on the go to avoid falling back on your addictions. They also do third-party testing to ensure their products are not only safe, but also the highest possible quality. It's simply a great tool to help overcome bad habits, and personally I quite like the design and the simplicity. Fume has already helped over 300,000 people build better habits, so if you have some to overcome yourself, try Fume today, and if you order the Journey Pack while using the code BACKGUY, you will get a free Fume topper, which is a sweet little accessory to level up your experience. So head over to tryfume.com/backguy, or you can scan the QR code on your screen right now to get started. And now, back to the video. After being sentenced to jail in 1989, Henderson focused all his attention on two things throughout the entirety of his sentence: benching and the Bible. James would read the Bible through and through every day, spending all his free time on the religion. And when he was allowed to, he spent all of his other time bench pressing, trying to get as strong as possible. And it definitely paid off. Henderson only ended up serving 3 out of the 50 years he was sentenced for, and when he returned to lifting in 1994, during the National Bench Press Championship hosted by the United States Powerlifting Federation, Big James was about to shock everyone. If you didn't know, bench pressing in the 80s and 90s was mostly dominated by equipped lifting, which means each lifter usually wore a bench press shirt to help them lift more weight. So if you look at the results sheet from those championships, every single lifter wore one of these shirts to inflate their numbers. All aside from one. James Henderson came in wearing just a t-shirt and managed to bench an astounding 622 pounds. More than qualifying him for the World Championships just 4 months later. And during that competition, Henderson came in benching the exact same weight again, leaving him with his first ever World Championship title, winning by an incredible 35 kilos over the second place finisher, leaving a massive mark on the powerlifting world and totally shocking the community. From then, the era from 1994 to 1998 would become famous for the sheer domination set ashore by Big James Henderson.
Yeah. Yeah.
Get out of the way, dog. I stopped in the middle and kissed on the way up. I bet you thought I was going back down, didn't you? Yeah.
James would end up winning a total of 5 world championships in the bench press category in a row, and benching 700 pounds raw in competition a handful of times, all while being fully drug tested throughout his entire lifting career, which has since given him the claim of being the strongest drug-free bencher of all time, given that all other 700-pound benches in history aside from Henderson have all been performed in non-tested federations. His best ever bench press in competition was a staggering 711 pounds or 322.5 kilos in 1997, while weighing around 400 pounds himself and standing at a towering 6 foot 5 inches or 196 centimeters, making him one of the biggest guys in competitive powerlifting ever, but still pretty lean compared to his competition today. For reference, the current world record holder in the bench press, Julius Maddox, is 6 centimeters shorter and weighs 15 kilos more than Henderson. However, James also claimed to have maxed out at a record-crushing 744 pounds or 337.5 kilos while in the gym, which would be enough to make him the second strongest bencher to ever live, only beaten by Julius Maddox. And if you see the sort of equipment that Big James was training with, that just makes his accomplishments a lot more impressive. He also technically holds the heaviest ever bench press done in a full competition, meaning that he also performed the squat and deadlift at the same powerlifting meet. However, if you take a look at the actual results from that meet, he only squatted and deadlifted 60 kilos to get the full meet results approved. So take that one with a grain of salt. What's even more interesting about Henderson though is that his training was really simple. If you look at a lot of the available videos of him here on YouTube, you can see that he barely does anything out of the ordinary with his training. Just simple barbell movements, no chains, no bands, no tempo, double pauses or specific accessories, just hardcore benching.
That's the secret behind the man. Hard work, and walking the walk and talking the talk.
He was, simply put, just the strongest, and his training reflected how confident he was when lifting heavy weights. It was as if he knew that nobody else could match him when it came to brute pressing strength. And considering the reign of Henderson occurred during a time where most lifters used bench shirts, his continuous winning streak at the highest level for 5 years straight, and how far ahead of the competition he was, Henderson is argued as being a contender for the best bencher of all time, regardless of period. Now, we do have to take the drug-tested bit with a grain of salt, considering that era likely wasn't very advanced with their regulations, but we should also admire the fact that Henderson never caught a positive drug test in all his years of competing. And he still managed to push numbers far larger than all his competitors at the time and pressed more in training than guys like Kirill Sarychev, Eric Spoto, Scott Mendelson. And if we compare him to a similar lifter from around the same time frame, C.T. Fletcher, who benched 650 pounds and claimed to be the strongest tested bencher of all time, Henderson benched a full 60 pounds more in competition and almost 100 pounds more in training. However, today there isn't really a whole lot of talking about Big James due to his absence in the powerlifting world. He doesn't coach anyone, but he does spend most of his time preaching his message of religion and how lifting heavy weights helped him through life to other athletes, young men, and jailed criminals. One could make the argument that Big James is one of the most underrated strength athletes of all time just because of his absence in the spotlight. Although he does have a lot of niche catchphrases in the powerlifting community and is known for his rather articulate nature.
Why play with little teams when you can go for the big dollars, you know? Wood, this is the doghouse, you know? That's right. The All-American Gym about business, you know? A lot of times I have to tone my workout down for my spotters. I don't want them to get hurt. Yeah, thank you very much. Get out of the way. Yeah.
He isn't someone you hear about a lot in today's powerlifting scene, which is also why I wanted to shed some light on who I believe is one of the strongest lifters in human history. I have to mention that on paper, James Henderson is actually the second ever man to bench press 700 pounds, the first being American Sherry. However, not a lot is actually known about this feat, and there's barely any information of his lifts anywhere on the internet. No pictures, no videos, not even documented meet results that actually boost the claim that he benched 700 pounds raw in competition. Hence why Henderson is often referred to as the first man to ever hit this tremendous milestone. So what do you guys think? Should Big James Henderson be included in the conversation as one of the best benchers of all time? And do you believe that he could have made the run for an 800-pound bench press with Julius Maddox if he competed today? Feel free to let me know down below in the comments if you have any particular lifting legends you would like me to cover in the near future. A massive thank you again to Fume for sponsoring the video. Make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed it, and I will see you all next time.